The dog's bark cut through the mall like a siren, 3 times, each sharper than the last. Rex, German Shepherd, 5 years on the force, 47 operations without a single mistake, lunged forward. Officer James Carter hauled back, boots sliding on tile. The woman stood frozen, 8 months pregnant, white sundress, face drained of color. "She's pregnant!" someone screamed. Rex didn't stop, every muscle locked on target. But Carter knew every one of Rex's signals. This wasn't attack mode. This was something else. Terror. "I didn't do anything." The woman's voice cracked. Carter's chest tightened. Rex had never been wrong, not once. But this was a pregnant woman. The crowd pressed closer, phones filming, recording his career ending in real time. Trust the dog, or trust what he could see. He pulled Rex away. The woman collapsed. Ambulance sirens wailed. 3 million views in 2 hours. But as the ambulance pulled away, one thought cut through everything. What if Rex was right? Before we continue, hit like and subscribe. Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing where our stories reach. James Carter was 34, 8 years with the department, single, with no family left to speak of. Rex was the only living thing he came home to, the only one who didn't ask questions or need explanations. 5 years ago, he'd made a promise the day he took Rex from the training facility. "I'll always trust you, no matter what the world says." Rex had pressed his head against Carter's chest that day, sealing the bond between them. They were a unit forged through 47 successful operations together. Drug busts, weapon seizures, explosive detection. The kind of partnership that made other officers jealous. Rex had a nose that could detect traces of narcotics through concrete walls, could smell fear and adrenaline from 20 feet away. The dog never barked without reason and never attacked the innocent. Every morning, Carter brushed Rex's coat until it shone. Every night, Rex slept at the foot of his bed. They moved together like shadows, anticipating each other's next step before it happened. The scent of veterinary soap and dog shampoo clung to Carter's jacket from the morning grooming session. Rex's steady breathing beside him, the click of nails on tile. These were the sounds that made sense in Carter's world, the rhythm they'd built together. When Carter stopped, Rex stopped. When Carter tensed, Rex's ears pricked up. They read each other like a language no one else spoke. 3 years ago, Rex had saved Carter's life during a raid, lunging at a suspect just as the man aimed his weapon at Carter's chest. That was the moment Carter realized this dog was his family. But there was something else about Rex, something the department file didn't mention. 5 years ago, Rex had been part of Dr. Elizabeth Warren's experimental program, training dogs to detect abnormal pregnancy hormones. The project claimed to help identify high-risk pregnancies, promising early intervention and saved lives. Rex could smell stress hormones, fear markers, sedatives, chemical signatures invisible to humans. The program was shut down after 18 months. Insufficient results, they said. Rex was transferred to Carter's K9 unit, retrained for narcotics detection. But dogs don't forget. And Rex had just recognized a scent he'd been trained to find 5 years ago, a woman in danger. 10 minutes before the chaos, everything had been routine. Riverside Mall on a Friday afternoon. A routine patrol after intelligence suggested a smuggling operation might be using the mall as a drop point. Carter had walked this route 100 times, Rex trotting beside him, professional and alert, but calm. The dog's nose worked methodically, his breathing steady and even, the click of his nails on tile creating a rhythm Carter knew by heart. Then Sarah Miller walked past. Rex stopped, his body locked rigid, muscles turning to stone beneath his golden brown coat. The fur along his spine rose in patches. Carter felt the leash vibrate in his hand, a small tremor, but wrong. all wrong. This wasn't aggression. This was something Carter had never felt from Rex before. Pure terror. The smell of cold sweat began rising from Rex's coat as his whole body trembled. Carter's hand on the leash could feel Rex's pulse racing through the leather. Whatever Rex sensed in this woman wasn't danger from her. It was danger to her. Sarah looked ordinary enough. 28 years old, 8 months pregnant, dressed in a simple white sundress with a small beige purse. Her face was kind, but tired around the edges, cheeks slightly pale. She stood waiting for the elevator, one hand supporting her belly, worry creasing her forehead. Her breathing was gentle, light perfume drifting past. Nothing suspicious, just a pregnant woman shopping. Then Rex started barking. Low. The sound came from deep in his throat, choked and desperate. His hind legs tensed as he pulled toward Sarah, the force nearly yanking Carter forward. "Rex, heel!" Carter's voice echoed across the concourse, but the dog didn't respond. People started turning, whispers rippling through the crowd like a wave, voices rising with accusations about controlling the dog and scaring a pregnant woman. Sarah noticed. Her face went white, lips trembling as she stepped backward. Her heartbeat became visible through the thin skin of her neck. Carter's instincts split down the middle. The cop in him knew to trust Rex, the dog who had never failed, never given a single false positive in 47 operations. But his eyes showed him a pregnant woman, terrified and vulnerable, and the crowd's judgment pressed against him like heat. Sweat ran cold down Carter's spine as he pulled Rex back, hands shaking. The leash cutting into his palm, but Rex kept barking, kept pulling, his eyes locked on Sarah with desperate intensity, as if trying to communicate something Carter couldn't understand. For the first time in 5 years, Carter was going against Rex's instinct. For the first time, he had to choose what he could see over what Rex could sense. "You're wrong, Rex. This time, you're wrong." But Rex whined, a sound Carter had never heard from him before. Not defiance, desperation. And in that moment, ice crawled from the base of Carter's skull down his spine. What if he was making the biggest mistake of his life? What if the thing Rex could smell, the thing Carter couldn't see, was the only truth that mattered? Carter tried to pull Rex away, but the dog fought him with every ounce of strength. The barking grew louder, more desperate. Sarah stood frozen, reaching for the wall to steady herself as the crowd surged closer, phones already filming what would become his career ending in real time. Accusations flew. Police brutality. Someone calling the news, demanding an ambulance. Carter's radio crackled. "Carter, what's your status?" Captain Hayes demanded. Carter couldn't answer, couldn't think. He gestured to Sarah, trying to keep his voice calm. "Ma'am, I need you to stay here for just a moment." "Check me for what?" Sarah's voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. "I haven't done anything wrong. The baby. I can't be stressed." Rex's barking changed then. The aggression disappeared, replaced by pure desperation. Not the trained bark of a police dog, but the pleading cry of someone trying to save a life. When Carter moved closer to Sarah, trying to de-escalate, Rex jerked so hard the leash burned through Carter's glove. The dog broke free. Rex lunged forward, not attacking, blocking. He jumped between Carter and Sarah, barking frantically not at Sarah, but at the space around her, at something Carter couldn't see. Rex's eyes darted between Carter and Sarah again and again, screaming across the barrier of species. "Look, see what I see. Understand." Sarah stumbled backward, her legs buckling. "It hurts. The baby." She collapsed. The crowd erupted. "The dog attacked her!" "She's pregnant, for God's sake!" People rushed forward to create a wall between Carter and Sarah. Someone helped her to a bench, while someone else called for an ambulance. "Get an ambulance to Riverside Mall. Pregnant woman collapsed. Carter grabbed Rex, dragging him back as the dog thrashed in his grip. Still trying to reach Sarah, still barking. But now there was something else in Rex's eyes. Anguish. Enough! Stop it! Rex finally went quiet and sat, but his eyes never left Sarah. Disappointment. Betrayal. Rex's tail hung motionless, his ears flattened back. The defeat of being abandoned by the one person he'd trusted completely. The ambulance arrived within minutes. Paramedics confirmed Sarah's vitals were stable, but said they needed to get her to the hospital for observation. As they loaded Sarah onto a stretcher and wheeled her toward the ambulance, Rex started barking again. Softer this time, almost mournful. Carter's radio exploded with Captain Hayes ordering him to bring the dog in immediately. The crowd watched him with hostile eyes. Phones pointed at him like weapons. The video probably already online. Carter looked down at Rex, watching the dog stare at the departing ambulance with an intensity that made his chest ache. Why? Why did you do that? But as the ambulance pulled away, a thought pierced through Carter's confusion like a blade. What if Rex was right? What if something terrible was happening to that woman right now, and he'd just let her drive away with it? Back at the station, Carter stood in Captain Hayes' office while the video went viral. 3 million views in 2 hours. The headlines writing themselves about police dogs attacking pregnant women and K-9 units under investigation. Hayes sat behind his desk, face carved from stone. Explain. Rex has never been wrong, sir. He was wrong today, Carter. That woman is in the hospital. Stress-induced contractions. If she loses that baby. Carter's stomach turned. Hayes continued. You're suspended. Effective immediately. 3 days. We'll evaluate Rex's status when you return. The word evaluate was too clinical for what Hayes really meant. If Rex failed evaluation, he'd be retired. Or worse. He was trying to warn us about something. Go home, Carter. That's an order. Rex was already in isolation when Carter arrived at the kennel area, pacing back and forth, instead of lying down, moving like he was planning something. The moment Rex saw Carter, he stood rigid at the gate, not submissive, but determined. Carter knelt by the chain link. I don't know what to do, buddy. Then Rex did something Carter had never seen before. He turned his head toward the filing cabinet in the corner of the kennel office and barked once, sharp and commanding. He looked at Carter, back to the cabinet, then barked again. What are you trying to show me? Carter walked to the old metal cabinet filled with K-9 incident reports, training logs, and medical files. Rex barked louder, more insistent, as Carter pulled out files and flipped through them. Then he found it, an incident report from 2 years ago with Rex's name and another name, Emily Rogers. Dog exhibited unusual behavior toward pregnant woman. No contraband found. Behavior attributed to training error. Emily Rogers. Pregnant. Rex had barked at her the same way he'd barked at Sarah. Rex stopped barking and sat, watching Carter read, as if saying, Now do you understand? Now will you listen? Carter's phone buzzed with an unknown number. Your dog wasn't wrong. I tried to tell someone 2 years ago about Emily, but no one believed me. And then she died. Check her obituary. Then ask yourself, what if Sarah Miller is next? The line went dead. Carter searched and found it. Emily Rogers, age 26, died from complications following childbirth. No mention of her baby. Rex whined at the gate, not begging but pleading. Listen to me, before it's too late again. Morning came with bad news. Rex had escaped during the night. Carter knew exactly where to look. He found Rex sitting on apartment steps at Emily Rogers' last address, waiting with the patience of someone who'd been trying to deliver this message for 2 years. The dog walked straight to Unit 2B and scratched at the door. An elderly woman answered, her eyes widening at the sight of Rex. That dog. I remember him. 2 years ago, he tried to warn everyone about Emily. What happened to her? Sweet girl, pregnant. But toward the end, terrified, the woman's voice dropped. She told me once, "The baby isn't mine." Carter's blood went cold. I saw a man in a suit visit her, cold eyes. After that, Emily disappeared. Rex moved to another door, Unit 2F, Emily's old apartment. The landlord's spare key still worked. Inside the bedroom closet, behind a loose board, Carter found a shoebox containing Emily's journal. Her handwriting told a story of horror. They said I'd help a family, but now they own me. Own the baby. Mark watches me every day. I can't leave, can't call anyone. The baby isn't going to a family. If the client doesn't want it, I can't write it. The police came with a dog once. The dog knew, but no one listened. If you're reading this, please, stop them. New Life Foundation. Dr. Warren, there are others. Sarah, Maria. They're killing babies. Carter's hands shook as he photographed every page. Rex sat beside him, patient, as if he'd been trying to lead someone here for 2 years, and finally someone was listening. Late that night, Rex was already sitting outside Carter's car, having broken out again to follow him, to protect him. You knew where that journal was. You tried to show someone 2 years ago, didn't you? Rex licked his hand. I'm listening now, buddy. I promise. Rex walked to the car and got in the passenger seat, ready to work. Carter's phone buzzed with another message. Check the hospital. Sarah Miller, room 412, midnight. Someone will come. They have eyes everywhere. At 11:45 p.m., Carter stood outside Sarah's room on the 4th floor, wearing a borrowed white coat, while Rex wore his badge. Through the window, Carter watched Sarah sleeping with a man beside her, Mark Williams, her supposed husband. At 12:05, a tall man in an expensive suit appeared. Rex's lip curled in a low growl as Carter pressed his ear to the wall. The payment is secure? $500,000. Client is Middle Eastern. Blood type mismatch? Protocol B. Rex's growl intensified. A security guard's footsteps echoed. Doctor? What are you? Carter ran, Rex beside him. On the 2nd floor landing, a bodyguard blocked their path, knife flashing in the fluorescent light. Rex didn't wait. He lunged, grabbed the man's wrist, and the knife clattered away. When the guard reached for his gun, Rex released and went for the ankle, bringing him down hard. Carter grabbed a fire extinguisher and swung. The man dropped. Move! They made it to the parking garage with headlights following. Rex barked sharp directions, left, then right, then 3 more turns, navigating each one with precision until the headlights disappeared. How did you? Carter started, amazed. Rex looked back as if to say, this is what I do. At home, Carter's phone buzzed with a photo attached, his car outside his house taken 10 minutes ago. They were watching. But then came another message. Meet me. Riverside Park. Bench 7. 3 p.m. tomorrow. Come alone. Bring the dog. He'll know if you can trust me. At 3 p.m., a woman in a black coat approached. Rex sniffed her hand, then sat calmly, signaling she was safe. I'm Lisa. I was a nurse at a private clinic. What kind of clinic? The kind that doesn't exist on paper. Her hands trembled. They recruit desperate women as surrogates. But if the baby doesn't sell whole, they dismantle it. Organs. Sold separately. Carter's stomach turned. I saw it. I tried to stop it. But they threatened my family. She reached into her coat and something dropped into the leaves. Rex found it in seconds, a flash drive, and brought it to Carter. 27 women. Sarah is number 28. In 2 days, she gives birth. Then she vanished. At home, Carter plugged in the flash drive and discovered a spreadsheet containing 27 names, addresses, and delivery dates, with a status column marking each as delivered, in process, or failed. Photos showed women on operating tables and newborns in incubators, followed by images that made Carter want to vomit. Infants with surgical incisions, cold and clinical and horrifying. A video file contained footage from a hidden camera showing the man in the suit discussing an infant with a doctor. $500,000 from a Middle Eastern client. Blood type mismatch. Protocol B, disassembly with the heart, liver, and kidneys sold individually for higher total value. Carter couldn't breathe. This wasn't just trafficking. This was systematic murder. The client list contained wealthy names, politicians, philanthropists. A PDF labeled Standard Contract Template bore the logo New Life Foundation. The professional website featured warm photography and smiling families. When Carter checked the leadership page, his heart stopped. Executive Director, Dr. Elizabeth Warren. The caption read, Leading expert in reproductive medicine and pediatric organ transplantation. Carter sat in the dark, staring at Dr. Warren's photo on the screen as everything inverted and every assumption shattered. 5 years ago, they'd worked together. She'd helped Carter get promoted, always asked about Rex, always interested in the dog's training. But now he understood. Rex had been part of Warren's research program, supposedly training dogs to detect pregnancy complications for early intervention. That wasn't what Warren had created. She'd trained Rex to identify women under chemical control, teaching him to smell stress hormones, fear markers, and sedatives used to keep victims compliant. Rex could smell the cocktail of drugs, the terror beneath the surface, the manipulation hidden under a veneer of normalcy. The program was shut down publicly due to insufficient results, but Warren had simply moved the research underground, weaponizing the technology to monitor her victims, to know exactly when they were afraid, when they might run, when they needed more control. Rex was transferred to the police K-9 unit, and Warren probably thought he'd been reprogrammed, retrained for narcotics. But dogs don't forget. 2 years ago, Rex had tried to warn everyone about Emily Rogers, but nobody listened. Emily had been marked failed in the database. Carter read her file again. Subject delivered infant. Product did not meet client specifications. Protocol B completed. Subject possessed excessive knowledge. Resolved. They'd killed her and made it look like childbirth complications. Carter found a document Lisa had included showing Emily's infant as non-viable for client specifications, with components distributed to 3 separate clients and the subject eliminated to prevent exposure. Components. They'd taken Emily's baby apart and sold the pieces. Emily had known. She'd tried to tell someone. That's why the neighbor remembered her saying the baby wasn't mine, because by then, it wasn't. It had been purchased, owned, scheduled for disassembly. Now Sarah Miller faced the same pattern, the same terror, the same trap. Poor, recently divorced, an elementary school teacher barely making rent. When New Life Foundation offered her $100,000 to be a surrogate, she'd said yes, signing a contract she hadn't read carefully. By the time she understood what she'd agreed to, it was too late. Mark Williams wasn't her husband, he was her handler, ensuring Sarah didn't run, didn't talk, didn't ask questions. If she tried to escape, they'd sue her into oblivion using the contract, or they'd simply eliminate her like Emily. Rex had known from the moment he saw Sarah at the mall, smelling the fear hormones, the sedatives, the chemical signature of a woman being controlled. He hadn't been attacking her, he'd been trying to save her. And Carter, trusting his eyes instead of his partner, had stopped him. Carter stood and walked to his window. Across the street, a car sat in shadows, someone watching. His phone rang with Dr. Warren's name. "Hello, James." Her voice was smooth and cold. "I hear you've been asking questions. That's unfortunate. You were a good officer. And Rex, such a valuable asset. I'd hate to lose you both. But if you continue, you'll have an accident. Just like Emily. The line went dead. They knew he knew. And they were coming. Carter couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. He sat at his kitchen table staring at the evidence. Emily Rogers, 27 other women, and Sarah Miller about to become number 28. Rex had tried to stop it all. Late that night, Carter drove back to the station, waited until the guard made his rounds, then slipped into the kennel area. Rex was awake, waiting. Carter knelt by the gate. You were right. About everything. Rex pressed against the chain link and licked Carter's hand through the metal, his tail giving a small wag. No anger, only relief. Tears ran down Carter's face. I'm going to fix this, whatever it costs. Rex's gaze held steady, waiting the way a true partner waits. Carter pressed his forehead against the fence, and Rex pressed back from the other side. But he couldn't do it alone. Carter called Jake Morrison, his partner. The only person left he could trust. When Jake arrived 20 minutes later, Carter showed him everything. The flash drive, the videos, the spreadsheet, Dr. Warren's photo. Jake's face went pale as he processed the horror. Carter explained they had to move fast. Sarah gives birth in 2 days. He needed help, and he needed Rex. Jake pointed out that taking Rex out while under review would be career suicide, but Carter didn't care. Rex was the only one who could find the other victims, who could smell what they couldn't see. After a long, quiet moment, Jake nodded and asked for the plan. Carter spread out a map showing the New Life Medical Center, an old industrial building downtown where Lisa said the operations happened. They would go in at 2 a.m. to get evidence and find Sarah and the others. When Jake questioned if it would be just the two of them, Carter hesitated, then called Officer Maria Santos. Despite the late hour, she listened to everything, and after a silence on the line, agreed to help. But Carter made one more call, to the FBI contact Jake had been working with for months on a separate case. They needed backup tonight. 2 a.m. brought 3 officers and 1 dog together for the operation. Carter had smuggled Rex out of the station an hour earlier, and the dog now sat beside him in the car, alert and focused, back in his element and back with his partner. Rex's ears swiveled, tracking every sound, his nose working the air even through the closed window, already scanning, already searching. Carter reached over and ran his hand through Rex's fur. We do this together. Like always. Rex turned his head and looked directly into Carter's eyes with a look that said, I never stopped being ready. I was just waiting for you to believe again. Lisa had given them access codes, a back entrance, and security camera blind spots. Her text warned they had 15 minutes. That was all she could give them. They approached the old concrete building with windows dark, except for one floor. The sign read, New Life Medical Center. Lisa opened the rear door from inside, hands shaking. 2nd floor, records room. They moved fast and quiet, but this time Carter didn't lead. Rex led. The dog moved with purpose, nose to the ground, then in the air, reading invisible trails of fear and chemicals that only he could detect. Carter followed Rex's lead, trusting completely the way it should have been from the start. Rex stopped suddenly, ears pricked forward, then turned down a different hallway away from the records room. He started pulling Carter with gentle insistence. Where's he going? Jake whispered. I don't know, but I trust him. Rex brought them to a door marked Recovery Room, then sat and stared at it before looking up at Carter. This is what I've been trying to tell you. Through the window, they saw 6 beds with 6 pregnant women, all asleep or sedated. Sarah Miller was in bed, 3. A chart on the wall read, Sarah Miller, delivery 2 days. Client on at A47, Dubai. We need to get them out. Now. Maria's voice was barely audible. but Jake pointed to a camera in the corner with its red light still active. Lisa had said 15 minutes to disable cameras, but only 8 minutes had passed. Someone had already seen them. And suddenly, the lights went out. The entire building went dark. Footsteps, multiple, coming from both ends of the hallway. They were trapped. The lights blazed back on, blinding. Dr. Warren stood at the end of the hall with 4 security guards behind her. "James, I warned you." Carter stepped forward. "It's over, Warren." "Is it?" She smiled coldly. "You're trespassing. You stole department property." She gestured at Rex. "You have no warrant, no authority. Everything you found is inadmissible." "Not everything." Carter held up his phone with the recording light on. "You just admitted knowing I'd found something, and that you warned me. That's conspiracy, obstruction." Warren's smile faded as Maria called for backup behind them, though they were 10 minutes out, maybe more. The guards moved forward. Rex growled low and protective, positioning himself in front of Carter without waiting for commands, protecting his partner the way he always had. When one guard reached for his weapon, Rex exploded into action, not wild or vicious, but precise, the way he'd been trained. He took the man's wrist in his jaws, controlling without crushing, bringing him down before the weapon cleared the holster. Released. Moved to the next threat. Years of training and partnership now flowed perfectly as the other guards rushed forward. Rex fought with Jake beside him and Maria covering them, but the dog moved like liquid shadow, anticipating and reacting, protecting not just Carter, but the entire team. This was what he'd been bred for, trained for, born for. One guard went down, then another. Carter fought alongside Rex the way they'd always fought, reading each other's movements. When Carter went left, Rex went right. When Rex lunged, Carter covered his flank. 5 years of partnership crystallizing into perfect synchronization. But more were coming. Warren had backup throughout the building. Sarah woke up in the recovery room, groggy and confused, seeing the fighting outside her door. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't hold her, and she collapsed back onto the bed with hands clutching her belly. "My baby." Carter punched one guard, grabbed his radio. "All units. Officer needs assistance at New Life Medical Center. Multiple civilians in danger. Possible homicide operation in progress." Warren's face went white. "You fool. You just destroyed your career. Better than letting you destroy more lives." Sirens grew louder in the distance. Warren turned to run, but Rex blocked her path, teeth bared. She froze. Jake grabbed her and cuffed her. "Dr. Elizabeth Warren, you're under arrest for human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and about a dozen other charges I'm going to enjoy reading to you." The sirens grew louder, but they weren't just police cars. FBI vehicles pulled up outside, and dozens of agents in tactical gear flooded the building. A senior agent approached Carter, explaining that they'd been investigating New Life Foundation for 3 months, and Jake had contacted them 2 hours ago with evidence. Carter looked at Jake, who shrugged. He'd trusted Carter, but also made sure they had backup. The FBI agent continued, noting they'd been monitoring Dr. Warren's communications, and when the raid triggered her security system, they moved in. They arrested Warren's guards, doctors, and administrators, then found the records room containing hundreds of files, patient histories, client lists, financial transactions. 12 people were arrested on site. 5 more locations were raided simultaneously across 3 states. The FBI recovered the full database, showing 27 women in the system. 11 found alive and safe. 9 who had already given birth with their children's whereabouts unknown, and 7 deceased, including Emily Rogers. Sarah and the 5 other women in the recovery room were taken to a secure hospital with federal protection, medical care, and counseling. But one of the 6 didn't make it. Rachel Morrison, 24 years old, 7 months pregnant. The FBI medical team found traces of experimental sedatives, overdose. Her heart had stopped 20 minutes before the raid began. By the time Carter and Rex found the recovery room, Rachel was already gone. The baby was saved through emergency C-section, but Rachel never got to hold her daughter. Carter stood in the hospital corridor as they wheeled Rachel's body past, covered by a white sheet. Another Emily Rogers. Another woman Rex had tried to warn them about. Too late. The words echoed in Carter's head. They'd been too late for Emily, too late for Rachel, all because no one had listened to Rex soon enough. As they wheeled Sarah out, she saw Carter and Rex and reached for his hand, thanking them for saving their lives. Carter looked at Rex and acknowledged the dog had known from the beginning that he should have trusted him. Sarah asked if Rex had tried to warn her, and when Carter confirmed it, she apologized for being scared. Rex licked her hand. Gentle and forgiving, the FBI agent explained they'd found evidence of a national network spanning 6 other states and needed Carter and Rex because this wasn't over. Carter looked at Rex. Ready. 1 week after the raid, Carter drove to the victim protection facility where Sarah was staying, a secure house in the suburbs with guards at the gate, therapy rooms, and medical staff. Sarah sat in the garden, 8 months pregnant with belly round and full, but her eyes looked different now, clearer and calmer. When she saw Carter and Rex, she smiled. She shared that the baby was healthy after running every test, and she was keeping her. She knew that sounded crazy after everything, but the baby was hers, only hers now. Carter assured her that didn't sound crazy at all. Sarah looked at Rex sitting beside Carter, patient and still, and hesitantly asked if she could pet him. When Carter agreed, Sarah knelt slowly and carefully, reaching out to touch Rex's head. Rex leaned into her hand, gentle and warm. Sarah whispered an apology for being afraid of him, acknowledging that he'd been trying to save her, that he'd known what she didn't. Tears ran down her face as she recognized that Rex had tried to tell everyone, but no one listened. Carter's throat tightened as he admitted he should have listened sooner. Sarah looked up at him and pointed out that he did listen eventually, and he came for them. They had saved 17 people. The FBI said 6 of the women wouldn't have survived another week. After leaving Sarah, Carter drove to Riverside Cemetery. Emily Rogers' grave was simple, with a small headstone and fresh flowers. Carter knelt and placed his own flowers beside the others. "We found your daughter," he said quietly. "She's with a family in California. They love her. She's safe, healthy, and happy. And when she's old enough, they'll tell her about you, about how much you loved her." Rex sat beside Carter with head bowed, not in mourning but in respect. "She gets to grow up because we learned from you. Because Rex, I never forgot. You didn't die for nothing, Emily. You saved 32 other women, 23 other children. Your daughter will know that her mother was a fighter, and that her mother's story helped save so many others." The wind moved through the trees, warm and gentle. Carter stood. "Thank you for teaching us to listen." That evening, Jake and Maria met Carter at the station, and Captain Hayes called them into his office. The department was recommending all 3 of them for commendations, with Rex being designated as an honorary detective, the first in department history. Jake grinned that it was about time. Hayes nodded and added that the FBI wanted Carter and Rex on a federal task force full-time. Carter looked down at Rex, and the dog looked back. They would start immediately. The trial became national news as Dr. Elizabeth Warren and 12 co-conspirators faced federal charges for human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, illegal organ harvesting, and racketeering. The media descended. Every major network, international press. Rex's photo appeared on front pages worldwide as the German shepherd, who could smell what humans couldn't see, who'd tried to warn everyone, who'd been right all along. #Rex. The hero trended for 3 days. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Sarah testified, Lisa testified, and the 11 survivors testified. Carter sat in the gallery every day with Rex beside him, the dog wearing his badge proudly. When Sarah took the stand, her voice shook but held steady. "I thought I was helping someone have a baby. I needed money. I was alone. They promised me $100,000, a chance to do something good while solving my problems." She looked directly at Warren. "But you didn't want to help anyone. You wanted to own us, control us, take our children and—" Her voice broke. "And take them apart." The jury didn't deliberate long. Guilty on all counts. Warren received life imprisonment without possibility of parole, while her co-conspirators received sentences ranging from 20 to 40 years. Justice had been served. And because of Rex and Carter, it had come in time. The FBI investigation expanded over the next year, using Warren's files to identify operations in 6 additional states. 47 arrests, 32 women rescued, 23 children recovered and reunited with their mothers or placed in safe adoptive homes. Every single woman they found was still alive. Every single child was saved. Emily Rogers' daughter was found living with a family in California who'd adopted her through what they thought was a legitimate agency. When they learned the truth, they were devastated, but loved the little girl and wanted to keep her safe. Carter visited them and showed them Emily's photo. The adoptive mother cried, noting how much the girl looked like her birth mother. She promised they would tell Emily's daughter when she was old enough, about Emily, about how her birth mother fought to protect her, about how she was loved, and about the brave dog who made sure her story didn't end in tragedy, about how Emily's case helped save 32 other mothers and 23 other children. She would know her mother was a hero. Carter felt warmth in his chest, knowing Emily hadn't died for nothing. Her case had been the catalyst, the warning that made him investigate, the reason Rex was believed the second time. Because of Emily, no other mother would face what she faced, and her daughter would grow up knowing that. Carter left them the flowers he'd brought for Emily, saying she'd want her daughter to have them. 2 weeks after the trial, Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby girl, 7 pounds and 3 ounces. She named her Hope. Carter and Rex visited as Sarah held the baby, tears streaming, introducing them as the ones who saved their lives. Carter looked at the infant, so small, so precious, alive, safe, free, and told Sarah she was beautiful. Sarah promised that Hope would grow up knowing what they did, knowing there are people and dogs who fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Rex sniffed Hope gently, tail wagging slowly. Hope opened her eyes, looked at Rex, and smiled. 1 year later, Carter stood on a hillside at sunset with Rex beside him. 47th rescue operation complete. 3 women freed, 2 children recovered. 47 operations, 47 successes, 0 failures. His phone buzzed with a letter from Sarah. "Dear Carter and Rex, Hope just turned 1. Walking, laughing, healthy and happy. Every night, I tell her about the brave dog who tried to save us when no one listened. Thank you for believing in Rex. Thank you for not giving up. Forever grateful, Sarah and Hope." A photo was attached, showing Hope smiling while holding a stuffed German Shepherd. Carter showed Rex. "You see that, buddy? She's alive because you wouldn't stay quiet. 32 women, 23 children. All because of you." Rex's tail wagged, proud and happy. The radio crackled. "Carter, we have a situation. Female victim, possible trafficking. Need you and Rex." Rex stood, alert and ready. The patrol car door opened, and Rex jumped in. Carter scratched behind Rex's ears. "Ready, buddy?" Rex's tail wagged enthusiastically. They drove toward the next call. Partners, brothers, family, not hunting darkness, but bringing light. Because every operation ended in victory. Every victim became a survivor. Every child went home. And as long as they had each other, hope would never die. Hope was just beginning.